What is up, mathletes? Welcome back to the episode of Math with Dr. Math, and today we're continuing our series getting you ready for that SAT. All right, so let's look at question number 6 here, right? So notice for question number 6, they give us two equations and two unknowns, right? So we have the system of equations, and always look at what they want. They want us to find the value of x minus y. So after you find your x, right? I'm sure they're around here somewhere, right? And after you find your y, then go ahead and subtract the two to get your answer. So let's dive in here. All right, so again, always remember, pay close attention to what they're looking for. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and eliminate my x's, right? We don't want them in the picture anymore. So let's go ahead, let me copy this down again, and we're gonna focus on the x's. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna multiply this top equation by -3. So I'm going to multiply this top equation by -3, and then I'm going to multiply this bottom equation by 2. And again, what we're doing is we're using the elimination method. All right, so again, just search up the elimination method on my video list. I'll link it down below in case you need more practice. All right, so once we do that, we're going to get -6x plus 9y equals, let's see, we got 3, that's 30, 42, equals 42. All right, and then we're gonna multiply the bottom equation by 2. And again, I'll put a little arrow here. We're gonna get 6x minus 4y, and that's gonna equal -12. And the whole point is when we add these two equations, we want either the x's or the y's to eliminate one another. In this case, we said we're gonna eliminate the x's, and so that's exactly what's going to happen when I add the equations. All right, so when I add the equations, those x's eliminate each other. So these equations are, sorry, these x's, they cancel each other out. So that's how you know we did things properly. So now we'll go ahead and simplify. So we're going to end up with 5y, and then 42 minus 12 is going to give us 30, equals 30. Divide both sides by 5. Right, divide by 5, and you're going to get y equals 6. So now that we know what y is, we could plug in this y into one of the original equations. It doesn't matter which one. So let's go ahead and let's plug it into the first one. 2 times x minus 3 times y equals -14. So we get 2x minus 18 equals -14. We're going to go ahead and add 18 to both sides. Add 18, and you're going to get 2x equals 4. Divide both sides by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, and you're going to get x equals 2. So now you know x is 2 and y is 6. And notice what they're asking us to do, to find x minus y. So we're going to subtract these two. So 2 minus 6 gives us that -4 that we've been searching for. And there you have it. So the answer to this one is C. So again, make sure that you study this elimination method, and some people call it the elimination method, some people call it the addition method, right? Same thing. And what you're doing first is you're trying to get either the x is the same or the y is the same. It doesn't matter. Both ways will take you to this solution right here. So again, if you need more help on this one, go ahead and click that link below. All right, so follow me to question number 7. All right, mathletes, let's see for number 7 here. So notice they give us a table, right? So they give us a table here, and they say the function f is a polynomial. So make sure you know your rules and your theorems related to polynomials. Some values of x and f of x are shown, just like we said. Which of the following must be a factor of f of x? All right, so they give us all these possible factors. Well, we know something, right? And what I want to highlight here is they tell us when I plug in x, right? When I plug in x equals 4, I get an output of 0. So we have actually some theorems out there. And one of the theorems that we have is, let's say you have a factor x minus b. All right, so if we have a factor out there, x minus b, then if that's a factor of our original polynomial, what that tells us is that f of b, when I plug in b, that's going to give me an output of 0. All right, that's one of our theorems. And so here, it just so happens that this 0 is 4, right? Because they're telling us when you plug in 4, you get an output of 0. So what that says is one of my factors must be x minus, in this case, 4. So using that theorem, x minus 4 is one of your factors. So again, let's pretend this said like x of 7 equals 0 instead of 4 is 0. So say down here was 7. When I plug in x is 7, I get a 0. Well, what that would tell us is that x minus 7 would then be a factor of this polynomial f of x. Okay, so make sure this theorem, you have it down because you will be seeing this question. All right, so in this case, the answer is C. Boom. All right, mathletes, follow me to the next question. All right, so this question right here is related to lines. All right, so make sure you know all about lines, all the forms of lines, right? All the types of equations related to lines. So it says the line y equals kx plus 4, where k is a constant, is graphed in the xy plane. If the line contains the point, so it gives us this point c comma d, and none of those values are 0, what is the slope of the line in terms of c and d? So remember, when they're asking for a slope of the line, remember this, y equals mx plus b. And here for slope-intercept form, whatever's next to our x value, that is our slope. So what they're asking here is, what is this slope? So essentially they want us to solve for this value, but in this case we don't have an m, they're calling it k, right? K is the constant that we're trying to solve for. So in this equation we're going to solve for that value k, but they give us a point to plug in. So wherever I see x and y, we're going to be plugging in c and d. All right, so let's rewrite this. Wherever I see x, I'm going to plug in c, right, because that's my x value. And wherever I see y, I'm going to be plugging in the d. So let's go ahead and do that first. So we're going to get d equals k times x, but our x value that we're plugging in is c plus 4. So let's go ahead and we're trying to solve for this k right here. So let's solve for k. So I'm going to first subtract 4 from both sides. All right. So we end up with d minus 4 equals kc and the sunshine gain. And then we're going to go ahead, we're solving for k, and divide both sides by c. Divide by c and divide by c. So now we're left with k, which is our slope, which equals d minus 4 all over c. So d minus 4 all over c, and it looks like A right here is our answer. Any questions? Good. Follow me to question 9. All right. So in all my experience tutoring the SAT, this is usually the one people have most trouble on. And in my opinion, it's one of the most fun type of problems. So it's another system of equations type problem. And there's so many different ways we could attack this. But check this out. So we have the system of equations here. And it says k is a constant and x and y are variables. So for what value of k will the equation have no solution? And so it's really important to make sure you have the understanding down. And what does it mean that has no solution? Well, one thing, if you recall, when it has no solution, your x's and y's, they're going to be gone, right? So they're going to cancel each other out at some point, and you're going to be left with a statement such as 3 equals 7, or something false, right? 0 equals 5. And obviously that's not true. And what did we conclude? Well, we concluded that there was no solution. And so we want to get to a point just like this. Well, how do we get to this point? All right, so here's a pro tip that you're going to be using. All right, so here's our Dr. Math tip of the day. So let's go ahead and copy this down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on first on those y's, because I know I want the y's to cancel out. I also want these x's to cancel out, but we're going to hold on to that for a second. So I want to cancel out these y's. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this top equation by 5, and I'm going to multiply this bottom equation by -3, so that both of these become a positive and -15. And then we'll see the y's canceling out. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to multiply top equation, we said, by 5 times 5, and the bottom equation by -3. All right. So in doing so, we're going to be left with 5kx minus 15y equals 20, And then the bottom equation is now going to be negative 12x plus 15y equals negative 21. All right. And so remember what the goal is. Not only do we want these y's to cancel, but we want the x's to cancel as well. So here, of course, when we add them, these x's are going to cancel. So when we add them, we want this to equal 0, right? Because on one side, what we want is we want 0, and on the other side here, we don't care what we want. In this case, it'll be negative 1. But we want this side for the x's and y's to cancel out so that this side we get 0. Well, we know these are going to cancel, that's obvious. But how do we get these to cancel? So what we're looking for, let's think about this. We want 5y and x, we want that when we add that to negative 12x, right? When we add those two, we want those two to cancel out. We want it to be 0, all right? So now we could just go ahead and solve for k. What k value would I plug in here to make these guys cancel? And there's a lot of ways of thinking about this. So let me go ahead and add 12x to both sides, add 12x. All right, so we're left with 5kx equaling 12x. All right, we could divide both sides by x just to cancel them, because ultimately I just want that 5k to equal 12. That's what I'm really after, right? So let's go ahead and write that out. I ultimately want 5k to equal 12. So what number do I plug in for k that would give me 12 on both on my left hand side? So I'll divide both sides by 5, right? We're just solving for k. Divide by 5. So k must equal 12 over 5. And so what that means is when I plug in that 12 over 5 right here for k, those 5's would cancel and it'll leave me a 12x minus 12x, which would give me that 0 that I'm looking for. So again, this one was a little bit more tricky, but again, just use what you already know. The system of equations, right? I need to eliminate one of the variables, x or y. In this case, it was much easier to focus on the y's, but then you have to think about, oh, I want the answer to have no solution. So that means that I want both my x's and y's to cancel out, and that's exactly what we're trying to show here. All right, so in this case, our answer we could see is A. All right, mathletes, follow me to number 10. All right, so for this problem, we're talking about parabola, and just like I start off every example, whatever shape you're dealing with or type of equation, make sure you understand everything about that equation. So if you're talking about lines, make sure you know all forms of the lines. If you're talking about parabolas, like in this case, make sure you understand all the underlying facts about parabolas. So what are you talking about? Let's take a look. So here we have a parabola with the equation y equals x minus 11 squared. So ultimately I have some parabola. You don't even have to graph this, but we have some parabola here. All right, and then we have this line at y equals 25. And what we're looking at are these 2 points. They're telling us that these two shapes, so this line is going to intersect with this parabola at these 2 points, A and B. That's what the problem is telling us. So they're going to intersect right there and right there. So we know they're going to intersect at these 2 points, right? And so what they're asking us to do is to find this length of AB. So they're asking us to find this distance, right? So what we could do, there's a few things we could do. Let's go ahead and let's actually find where those 2 points are. All right, so let's go ahead and find those 2 points. And what's nice is the slope is 0, right? Because that y value doesn't change. So once we have the x value of point A and the x value of point B, we could just subtract those x values and that'll give us that distance. All right, so that length that we're looking for. So let's go ahead and let's see where is it that these 2 points cross. All right, so these 2 shapes here, this line and this parabola. All right, so let's look at these graphs. So what we're gonna do for us to analyze to see where it is that they cross, all we do is set them equal to each other. So we're gonna set 25 equal to x minus 11 squared. So notice both of them are y equals, so we just set them equal to each other, right? Because again, we're trying to see where is it that they intersect, and to find where they intersect, we just set them equal to each other. So we're solving this, and we go ahead and we're going to take the square root of both sides. But remember, when we take the square root, we're going to get a plus or minus. All right, so we're going to end up with one of our equations. We're going to get negative 5 equals x minus 11. So we're going to take the negative answer. That'll give us negative 5 equals the square root and the square, they cancel each other out. So we're left with the x minus 11. So this is one of our equations. That's going to give us one of our x values. Our second equation is positive 5 equals x minus 11. And so that's going to be the second equation to help us get our second x value. And again, that's all we need is our x values. All right. And again, some of you are like, yeah, that's all I need is my x. All right, so we're going to go ahead and add 11 to both sides. And we're going to add 11 to both sides in this equation too. And so here we're going to be left with x equals 6, right? And in this one, we're going to equal x equals 16. We're going to get x equals 16 here. These are going to be the x coordinates of these points. You can plug them in to get your y coordinate, but again, we already know the height is going to be 25. That's what they tell us. The height is 25, right? Because that's the height of this line. So again, what we're looking for is how far are these 2 points apart? Well, if this is at the point 16, comma 25, and this is at the point 6, comma 25, all I need to do is subtract those x distances, right? The x distance. So 16 minus 6, and that's how I get that distance of 10 right there. All right, mathletes, so hopefully that was helpful. Again, we're going to continue this series, and I'm trying to do about 5 a video so you don't get overwhelmed, and you could go back and look at whatever it is we did. You could ask some questions and study a little bit at a time, go back and review, and then you try some, right? And so again, hopefully this was helpful. Make sure you subscribe, you like, and share this video with a friend or two to let them know what we're doing here at Dr. Math Studios. All right, mathletes, have yourself a great day. We'll talk to you later. Peace.